Hello, welcome. Hi there. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Monster Monday. Yes. How do we like that? How do we like that? Monsters Monday for an hour. Perfect. Yeah, this stream is going to be 1 hour long. I don't have quite as much time as I did last week, but nevertheless, we're going to fill it full of monstery goodness. Yes. Yes. My name is Jason Arnott. I am a writer of scary fiction, both in terms of my own novels, which you see delightfully displayed there on the record player, along with a couple of Daleks who are guarding them. And I've also written some Doctor Who stuff, like things like this, marvelous stuff. And I'm also a Doctor Who magazine writer. So I'm going to guide you through a load of chat about monsters. I think we're all up for that. Yes, just checking the chat to make sure that people can actually hear and see me. If there's any problems, let me know. Yeah, so we're gonna talk through a load of monsters, and I guess the emphasis will inevitably be on classic Doctor Who, but there's no reason why we can't take in the whole length, breadth, and indeed width of Doctor Who, New Who as well. Plenty of good monsters in New Who. So here's how the next hour is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about the biggest, most iconic and well-known monsters in Doctor Who. And we're going to go through them one by one. Well, obviously probably not all of them, but we're going to cover as many as we can. Probably, I'd say, every monster on this book cover, for instance. Yes, absolutely. We're going to go through them, try and work out perhaps why we love them so much, why they're so loved, why they are the biggest monsters. And maybe we'll talk about what our favorite stories are. And then I'd also like us to talk a bit later about the lesser known monsters that we love. You know, monsters that we might think have been overlooked in the grand scheme of things. And also, one of my favorites, monsters who are great monsters, but have only been one-offs. So they've only been in Doctor Who, in the TV show, once in the show's history. That'll be fun to talk about. And then at the end, I'll tell you why I think we love Doctor Who monsters so much. So stick around till about 9 p.m. Now, one thing I should mention is you can choose, if you're suitably unhinged, to send me a super chat contribution during this live chat. There's a $sign at the bottom of this live chat, and you can choose to send any amount you like. And if you do that, your name is going to go on this board, which I'm about to flip over and redraw. These are the lovely people who, that starts with Gardenia 6 up there. I don't know if you can quite see that. Those are the lovely people who gave me super chats last Monday. And tonight also, I'm going to write the names on the board of anyone who chooses to pledge to my Patreon club during this live stream. You'll find the link for that downstairs. But let me draw a monster for you. That's what I'm going to do. I thought I'd wait and let you see the artistry at work. Because I'm going to draw a monster, and anyone who gets their name written on this board will end up in the belly of this beast. Can you see this? Yes. This is going to be amazing. I know this is really hard to believe, but I'm just making this up out of my own head. And I've just realized you can't see it because of the light. I'm going to do it in black. I've got two eyes on stalks. Actually, while I'm doing this, I want to hear why you love Daleks. Are Daleks actually your favorite monster? Because it's kind of taken for granted that Daleks are our favorite Doctor Who monsters and the best ones. But are Daleks your favorites? Tell me in chat. Right, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because otherwise it'll be like an artistry video, won't it? So yeah, got a big old monster body there. That's unbelievable. Wow. And some arms, hands. Now, this is important. Chris Chibnall, if you're watching this, you're not allowed to nick this monster even though it's amazing, obviously. Wow. Right, let's have a look. Hello, everybody. Hello, Retro Resolution. How you doing? Hello, Geiger Punk. GSAM 2020. Harry Palmer, hello there. Geiger Punk says, yes, we can see you, Clem Fandango. Nice Toast of London reference there. Now then, wow, we already have a super chat. And I forgot to mention that when someone gives me a super chat, I'm going to make the lights in the background flash. Way, super chat. Thank you, Broken1394. I remember that name. Fantastic. And with this is a good thing actually. When you make a super chat, you can also write a comment along with it. And sometimes I miss comments. So, you know, one bonus of sending me a super chat is I'll definitely see your comment. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try and see all of them tonight. Right, Sea Devils, baby, says Broken 1394. Oh, yeah, we'll definitely talk about Sea Devils. Yeah. Broken 1394. And funnily enough, it's almost like a magic trick, but behind that board, I happen to have a picture of a sea devil. How'd you like them? How'd you like them apples? How'd you like them sea devils? Yes. Right, Daleks. Let's talk about Daleks. Thank you so much, Broken1394. You rock. Thank you for that super chat. Now, DMF has said something controversial already. I'm going to get the lights back to blue. There we go. DMF is really going for it. He says, or she says, Daleks actually wouldn't make my top 10. Wow. Blimey O'Reilly, DMF. That is quite the statement to make. Yeah. I think they'd definitely be in my top 10, I would say. But it's interesting. I was thinking about this. You know, are Daleks actually my favorite Doctor Who monster? You know what? I think it's kind of a little bit easy to take Daleks for granted, don't you think? Because they've been around for so long, and they've kind of also been associated with so many skits. You know, we never saw the Sea Devils in a Spike Milligan sketch, did we? But the Daleks obviously rock. Yeah, tell me your favorite Dalek stories as well. Some people have already started doing that. I am liking that. Harry Palmer says that monster looks like a friend of mine. I'm just checking. I want to make sure you can see these names I'm writing on the board. Yeah, I think you can see that. Okay, lovely. GL Wilson, hi there, GL. Good to see you. Good to see you too. Mark Patterson, Simon Mallinson, Joseph Adam. Yes, I do have a soft spot for Daleks. Can't say why. I've liked them since I was a small child. I mean, yeah. And isn't it incredible that Daleks? How did Doctor Who manage to get this particular things? I mean, Doctor Who got lots of things right very quickly, but how did it manage to get its all-time most famous monster in the second story it ever did back in 1963? Isn't that a bit weird? You know, like 2 stories in, they struck gold in the monster department. That's kind of mad. Retro Resolution says, I watched the very first Hartnell Dalek serial yesterday for the first time. Lovely. And Genesis of the Daleks is my favorite Dalek story. Yeah, lovely. Philip Payne, hello Philip, says he loves the 60s Daleks. So you're talking, yeah. Obviously not necessarily talking about the Peter Cushing Daleks there, but who knows, you might be. I like the Peter Cushing Daleks. Yeah, Al Fleming, hi Al, says, yeah, Daleks are my number 1. Brilliant design and those voices. Plus they're in my favorite story, Power of the Daleks, where I think they're at their cunning best. Yes, they're very duplicitous, aren't they? Very duplicitous in that story. Yes. Richard Brown says, love a sea devil. Who doesn't? Who doesn't love a sea devil? Geiger Punk on Daleks says, not sure if they're my number 1 favorite per se, but I remember being scared of Daleks more than any other monster as a child, right down to remembering nightmares of them. Yeah, I mean, you know, especially when you're a kid, Daleks are really frightening, but actually I think they are kind of frightening now. Obviously their fear factor kind of varies, I guess, from story to story somewhat, doesn't it? Depends on the story, really. As to how effective they are. and how terrifying they are. They were certainly, I think, I'd say like one peak in the new series would be the Stolen Earth and Journey's End. They were pretty. The Dalek invasion was pretty terrifying then, because I remember them. They were coming into people's houses, weren't they? Yeah, a bit like the Ogre, who I'm going to mention later when we get to the one-offs. Yes, we will talk about the Ogre, if only for about 30 seconds, admittedly. Ashitaka says, Peter Steele is my favourite monster. I don't remember the typo negative front man appearing in Doctor Who, but, Peter Steele was a pretty cool-looking dude, wasn't he? He could have played a monster in some kind of horror film. Geigerpunk says, humans are the scariest monster, OVs, because they're real and all around you. Yeah. And now, weirdly, humans are more scary than they ever were if they're not wearing masks. Yeah, it used to be if someone was wearing a mask, you'd be terrified of them. And now it's if they aren't wearing one. Power of the Daleks. Hello, BTS Reviews. Power of the Daleks. David Whittaker, best writer for the Daleks. Love his way of reflecting characters through monsters. Yeah. That's good, isn't it? It's good technique. We like that. Mark Patterson has a list of reasons to like Daleks, and I suggest we sit up and pay attention. Reasons to like Daleks: the voice, the fascist overtones, in brackets, scary, yes, and their heads turn 360 degrees. They do. They so do. Ben Baxter. Hello, Ben. He says, Dalek creator Davos is a legend monster in his own right. Absolutely, yeah. I was writing a list of these monsters, just in case I forgot anyone major. Not that I reckon you guys would let me, but Davos is a monster, yeah. I think Davos, personally, I find Davos more terrifying than the Daleks. I mean, not in terms of immediate threat, but in terms of cunning and wile and just unpleasantness. What an unpleasant little man. What a horrible little man. Absolutely horrid. Yes. I watched Revelation of the Daleks about a month ago, and I think Davos is at his most frightening there. Partly because Terry Malloy was really going to town on the sort of the dynamics of Davos. 1 minute he's really whispering, next minute he's shouting his head off. He goes this in Revelation of the Daleks, you get the full dynamic Davos. Yeah. If anyone's tuning in now, they're going to think that I've drawn a monster on the board and I've decided to call it Broken 1394. They're going to think I've gone mad. Yeah. But in truth, whoever sends a super chat or signs up to my Patreon during this live stream gets their name written on that board, and I'll make the lights flash and that. Yeah. Nice. Geigerpunk is sharing a Dalek nightmare with us. Hold on, I almost lost the nightmare. Scrolling back up to it. I remember one nightmare wanting to get to the local swimming pool to escape them, the Daleks that is, as they wouldn't be able to get us as if we were in the pool. Obviously, crazy dream logic, and hadn't seen that shot of the Dalek emerging from water at that point. So did you then see that shot and realize? Yeah. I'm a bit concerned that this board isn't quite in focus, and I want Broken 1394's name to be visible. So let's take it forward a bit. Oh, look at that. That's nice, isn't it? Weird shadow across it, but that's a lot clearer in my book, and we can still see the Christmas tree. Let's have some love for the tree, everybody. Let's settle down around the Christmas tree and talk about Doctor Who monsters. Lovely. Paul Owens, you're worrying me a bit, Paul, there. Hello, Paul. He says, everything's head turns 360 degrees if you're strong enough. You're a scary individual, Paul, but I'm glad you're here. Welcome. BTS Review says Ray Cusick deserves a lot more credit for the Dalek success. Retro Resolution very sagely says Davros is absolutely in my top 5 monsters / foes. Yes. Motorhawk, hello Motorhawk, my metal loving pal. I think Dalek stories would be better if the story title didn't have Dalek in. It would make it more intriguing. That's a good point. What would be the Daleks equivalent of Earthshock? where they really turned up at the end of the first episode and everyone was shocked. Has there ever been something like that? There probably has been more in the new series, actually, because there weren't in the new series, the post-millennial Who. There aren't so many sort of something of the Daleks type story. Well, apart from the New Year's Day special, which is imminent. I'm really glad we've got a New Year's Day special to watch. I feel pretty fortunate for that. Hello, Benedict Aquilina. Great name. Remembrance of the Daleks is the best Dalek story. The real life-size model Dalek ship landing. Yeah, that model is incredible, isn't it, when it lands in that school playground? That's mad. The special weapons Dalek and the plot are amazing. The scene in the coffee shop is great too. Yeah, Remembrance of the Daleks is great. I mean, there are two. Yeah, that series 25 of Doctor Who, has two, I think. I mean, a lot of people won't agree with me with this second choice, but it has two of the best stories for two of the most iconic monsters in the show, Daleks and Cybermen. I love Silver Nemesis. I've probably mentioned that before. And frankly, I won't stop mentioning it. No. Philip Payne says, Michael Wisher as Davos in Genesis of the Daleks is the best for me. Yeah, I really like Michael Wisher. I mean, he's the original. I mean, how can you not love him? I find it it's a bit difficult to weigh up Terry Malloy and Michael Wisher. And of course, Julian, who played Davos in the new series? Someone will tell me. Julian somebody, but he was very good. In the absence of Terry Malloy, he was seriously good. Yeah. DMF says nobody saw the Daleks coming at the end of Frontier in Space, the Pertwee story. Very good point. Yeah, so that was kind of like a bit of an Earthshock type effect. Richard Brown poses a question: are the Daleks overused? Yeah, I mean, I think they've been used. Well, I mean, it depends. It depends which bit we're talking about, really, doesn't it? Which bit of Doctor Who? So in the last few years, they've been more sparingly used. I'm sure there have been periods in Doctor Who where there's probably a bit too much of them. Geigerpunk says, yeah, what was the new Who one where the Cybermen and the Daleks finally faced off? Yeah, that was Doomsday at the end of series 2 of New Who. And the Dalek reveal, as you point out there, Geigerpunk, was indeed a surprise. Yeah, I mean, wow. Yeah, I can remember being, I was in a tone meeting in Cardiff writing for Doctor Who magazine for Doomsday, and I was just reading the script for the first time as everybody went through it. And suddenly, like at the end of, I guess it was at the end of Ghosts. What's it called? Something Ghosts. Army of Ghosts? Yeah. Anyway, it blew my mind that there was Cybermen and Daleks in that story. And then I had to keep it a total secret from everyone for 6 months. Ludicrous. Julian Bleach. Thank you, Al Fleming. How could I remember, or how could I not remember such a distinctive name as Julian Bleach? Joseph Adam says, Silver Nemesis is a bit boring. I won't have that for a moment, Joseph. Terrible. What a terrible man you are. Mark Patterson gives a shout out for Asylum of the Daleks. Not a classic Who episode, he points out, but I really like it. The idea of the Daleks being too psychotic even for other Daleks is pretty terrifying. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Harry Palmer pipes up to say, my first classic Who VHS was Death to the Daleks, which I'll love forever. Lovely. Yeah, I've always had a soft spot for Death to the Daleks, and that whole Citadel of Exelon and all the puzzles and stuff like that. I think it's a really cool story. Yeah. Geigerpunk is talking about his wife Jules's scariest monster moment when the Auton mannequins smashed their way out of the Burton's shop windows. Was it actually Burton's? Was it really Burton's? Or are you just saying that as a generic kind of placeholder for, Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's classic. We'll get to the Autons in a minute. I think we should move on to Cybermen, and And Joseph Adam has given us the perfect segue with which to achieve this, because he says Revenge of the Cybermen is top 10 for Tom Baker. Now, funnily enough, Revenge of the Cybermen seems to get a really bad rap. I think I tend to like Cybermen stories kind of, non-conditionally. My critical faculties are not at their sharpest when it comes to classic Doctor Who, because I'm like, wow, Cybermen and stuff, Sea Devils and Silurians. Still 12 in so many ways. Oh, Benedict Aquilina says, I have an unpopular opinion on the Cybermen story too. I actually like Nightmare in Silver. Wow. Yeah, I remember liking a fair few things about Nightmare in Silver. They kind of upgraded the Cybermen, didn't they? And there were some pretty cool things they could do. Yeah. Motorhawk, just nipping back to the Daleks before we move on to Cybermen. Motorhawk 2 says, if the Daleks are following their conditioning / programming built into them, then yes, basically Davos and his conditioning programming, that's the true evil. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Geigerpunk has a diss on Revenge of the Cybermen when he says, nothing quite as scary as getting your shoulders shook. And he is, of course, referring to the moment where Cybermen manhandle the Doctor and Sarah Jane and wrestle they basically look like they're two roadmen using pneumatic drills. Yes, it's a bit overdone, that, isn't it? Right, let's talk about Cybermen. Why are Cybermen so popular? Why? We kind of know why the Daleks are, because they're just, they're basically Nazis. They're really, everyone loves to hate a Nazi. Well, these days, not as many people as we might prefer, but still, most people love to hate a Nazi. And yeah, Cybermen are essentially robot zombies, says Richard Brown. Yeah, they are a bit robot zombie, aren't they? They're kind of like, they're like, bits of sort of body parts, aren't they? Like encased in metal and robotized and moving about the place. Yeah. 60 Cybermen are, a love of broken 1394s. Wonderful, those voices, yeah. I mean, the 10th Planet Cybermen, the voices are a bit like Michael Palin for my liking, I must admit. I know that's sacrilege. I love them. I love their bandagey look. I love the snow. I love that story. I'm not so keen on the voices. They get better as they go along. And my favorite cyber voice, as I've said before, is I'm afraid. Well, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid at all. I'm not afraid, God damn it, to say that David Banks is the provider of my favorite cyber voice. Geigerpunk thinks re-Cybermen, it's the complete lack of empathy that Cybermen display. Yeah, absolutely. Logic, cold logic. I'm going to rip your arm off and beat you to death with it because I'm Cybermen, because I'm a Cyberman and I have no empathy. Indeed. Yeah, yeah. Simon Mallison says, yeah, it's the thought of being converted to non-human freaks him out. Yeah. Sam Riddell is paying tribute to the Tomb of the Cybermen, which is perfection in brackets, except the dummy. Yeah, the bloke who gets thrown through the air. The storyline in that is perfection. The scene where the second Doctor talks about remembering loved ones is amazing. Absolutely. Oh, BTS Reviews says, my nan took me to the caves used in Revenge of the Cybermen. I was terrified that Cybermen would come for me. John Ingham says, what do you think of the Cybermen's weakness to gold? Well, I mean, I like it, to be honest, because, I mean, it was kind of used to really good effect, I think, possibly for the first time, actually, in Earthshock. It kind of gives them a weakness for the Doctor to exploit at the end in that marvelously kind of vengeful final scene. I mean, it is odd that, the weakness to gold was only brought up in Revenge of the Cybermen. And actually, I was watching what was it? It was a review of Revenge of the Cybermen by a really good YouTuber called Mr. TARDIS, who I'm sure you're all familiar with. He's got loads of subscribers. Oh, by the way, subscribe if you haven't already, because I'd love to arbitrarily reach 3,000 subscribers by Christmas. So hit subscribe if you haven't, and you'd like to. Obviously, don't hit subscribe if you don't want to. I mean, that would be silly, wouldn't it? You know, no obligation. Let's see now. Retro Resolution is sticking up for the 10th planet Cybermen in the face of my mockery. He says, yeah, those Cybermen, voices included, still unnerve me. I mean, visually they're great. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't want to be in a snowstorm when one of them comes around the side of the TARDIS for you, would you? No. No. Oh, hello, Wellesley Boy 94. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Unpopular opinion, : World Enough and Time two-parter is top 3 Cybermen story. Wow. Okay. Well, I certainly enjoyed that story and found it pretty hard-hitting stuff. Yeah, lots of good things in that two-parter. Ben Baxter says, yes, interesting distinction here that Ben draws between the Cybermen and the Daleks is the Daleks want to destroy everyone, but the Cybermen want to make everyone Cybermen. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? You don't even get with the Cybermen, you don't even get to die. You kind of you have like all your best bits probably taken away, and you just end up sort of lumbering around following orders and saying excellent. Yes. Richard Brown says, anyone mention Silver Nemesis yet? Yes, me, I did. Can't get enough of that. Geigerpunk says, wasn't Revenge of the Cybermen the first Doctor Who VHS release? Yes, indeed. And I made a video about that. You can find that in the Doctor Who playlist. It's from the early days, so it doesn't look quite as nice as my videos are kind of starting to, because I just got a new camera thanks to my Patreon supporters. Got this new Sony ZV-1 camera, and I've only made one video about it so far. It's the thrash metal vinyl video from this week. But if you have a look at that video, I think you might notice the difference. I can't use it for live streaming yet. I'm using a Logitech webcam, which isn't too bad. I mean, it can stream full HD allegedly, so that's good. But yes. Anyway, yeah, have a look at that Revenge of the Cybermen video if you want to see more about that VHS. The Original Being, hello there. Silver Nemesis was my first McCoy story and is enjoyable as a guilty pleasure. Yes, yeah. Well, you know, I don't believe there are such things as guilty pleasures, really, you know. But I understand what you mean. I know what you mean. Thank you for that. Trev39359. Hello, Trev359. My favorite is the Moonbase, partly because it was one of my first novels. Yeah. That's nice. I like the Moonbase. I mean, I've got a soft spot for all that Cybermen stuff. Absolutely. Am I strictly in focus here? I wonder if this yes, I think I am. It's probably just my eyesight. Retro Resolution, got to love the Cyberman tripping up the steps in Earthshock as the actors couldn't look down. No, I'm afraid whenever I watch Earthshock, I can't see that. I simply don't recognize that. Yeah, I mean, Earthshock is one of my favorite Doctor Who stories. It's a classic. It's a classic. John Ingham says, no love for the Cybermats. I do like Cybermats. God, yeah, absolutely. Cybermats are tremendous. Yeah, you know, I don't know if I'd like to see them in like loads of Doctor Who stories, but nevertheless, you know, they are tremendous. Geigerpunk says, what's the Cyberman story at the North Pole? I remember the description in the Target book where Cyberman smashes a man's head like an eggshell and the blood staining the snow. Really graphic for kids. Yeah, that's the 10th planet. And yeah, funny enough, the actual serial itself isn't as graphic. So I'm preoccupied by whether I'm in focus or not. I think I might have the autofocus setting on this webcam. Hopefully it's watchable anyway. I'll learn. You learn as you go along, don't you? Next time we do this, I'll probably turn the autofocus off, I guess. The 80s Cybermen had the best voices. Thank you, Benedict. Thank you very much. I liked the distinction of voice comparing the rest of the Cybermen to the Cyber leader. It adds an extra threat. Yeah. And Philip Payne mentions the Cyber Controller is an interesting one, and I know it was the same actor played him in Tomb of the Cybermen and Attack of the Cybermen. Yeah, Michael Kilgarrick, right? Yes, I think so. I'm sure someone will tell me if I'm wrong. I hope so. Lots of people talking about their favorite cyber stories, and David Bull says, I like to think one Cyberman somewhere is sitting down enjoying a well-prepared meal while watching the sunset. Well, it's possible. Thank you for your reassurance there, Geigerpunk, about the focus. I don't know why I became... I've just been reminded about that Woody Allen film where one character goes out of focus and his kids are singing, Daddy's out of focus, Daddy's out of focus. I don't know which film that was, but it was very good. Hello, Sneevron Sykes. You're new here, I believe, so thank you for joining us. Welcome. I reckon the 5 Doctors is best value when it comes to gratuitous cyber violence. You're not wrong there, Sneevron. Yeah, that Raston Warrior robot sequence is fantastic, isn't it? I mean, if that was humans receiving that kind of treatment that the Warrior robot dishes out, then God, yeah, that would be mad. Michael Kilgarriff. Yeah, not Michael Kilgarrick. Thank you, Sneevron. Thank you very much. Oh, and DMF also points out that Michael Kilgarriff also played the titular robot. I like the use of the word titular. That's good, isn't it? So I think we've covered some really good cyber ground there. Yeah. Shame John Pertwee never got a Cyberman story, says Broken 1394. Absolutely. Motorhawk 2, just one last word on those 10th Planet Cybermen, because I want them to have their day in court. I do love them. It's just the voice. What makes them scary is their human hands, and I liked the way their jaw opened when they spoke, then closed after delivering the complete sentence. Like that. Yes. I reckon Sontarans next. How do we feel about Sontarans? For some reason, when I was thinking about, who the... Actually, I think Autons are probably the 3rd tier monster these days. Don't know. Anyway, Sontarans. Why are Sontarans so good? I've been thinking about this. And I think, they are kind of... they personify war and conflict, don't they? Really. And they're just brutish, horrible. They're more horrible little men like Davos. Just really horrible. What kind of upbringings must all those Sontarans have had? I love BTS Reviews has just piped up with Sutek. Yes. Yeah. Is Sutek a monster? Yeah, he is really, isn't he? I love Sutek. We'll talk about him in a bit. But any thoughts on Sontarans? What's your favorite Sontaran story? Broken 1394 says Kevin Lindsay was amazing as Lynx in the Time Warrior, right? John Ingham says your monster drawing looks like a Pac-Man ghost mixed with googly eyes and rubber gloves. Thank you, John. You've provided me with a good segue to remind you that anyone who sends me a super chat contribution during this stream gets their name written inside that monster. Also, anyone who decides to pledge to me at Patreon gets their name up there too. You can find a link to my Patreon in video description. Geigerpunk has summed up Sontarans thusly as space gits. Yes. Marvelous. They are, aren't they? They're space gits. Sam Riddell says Sontarans make potatoes cool. They do. They're real ambassadors for the potato, aren't they? Just nipping back to Cybermen, Sneevron Sykes says the 5 Doctors was Pertwee's Cybermen story. That's a good point. I like that. Yeah, good point. And Geigerpunk nipping back to going back to Sontarans. We're now talking about the Sontaran fleet, the noble Sontaran Empire. Geigerpunk adds they're not only gits, but they have a Napoleon complex. They do. Wellesley Boy 94 is praising the 2 Doctors. That's a very nasty Sontaran story, isn't it? Isn't that unpleasant, that story? Yeah. The Time Warrior is the best Sontaran story by far, reckons David Bull. Lynx is great. Yeah. Geiger reckons Sontarans could do a good sponsorship deal with Spud You Like. They so could, couldn't they? They so could. The cliffhanger at the end of Time Warrior, says DMF, where Lynx removes his helmet, absolutely terrified me and set me right behind the sofa. Yeah. Ben Baxter says, my favourite Sontaran program was Tom Baker, Invasion of Time. And, you know, I think we're going to be controversial together there, Ben, because the Invasion of Time can't really help but be my favourite Sontaran story, because it was the first time I saw them when I was a kid. And when they turned up, you know, admittedly 4 episodes into a 6-parter, I was just absolutely cock-a-hoop. Cock-a-hoop I was. Yeah. Geigerpunk says, was Lynx the one sticking his tongue out? Yeah, I think he did do a bit of tongue sticky outness. Retro Resolution brings our attention to the Probig vent, the thing at the back of Sontarans' helmets that you know, really does give them quite a weakness there. But you know, every monster needs a weakness. Daleks don't have one, do they? They don't have like a, you know, like one of the balls on their kilt is really weak or something like that. And if you shoot it through that particular ball, it dies. No. Jeff Dunn. Hey there, Jeff. How you doing? Hello there. Tomb of the Cybermen is my favourite story. I got really excited when it was found in '92. There was an event called Tomb Watch on the South Bank in London where it was shown on a big screen. God, yeah, that must have been such an exciting time. Yeah. Wow. God, it's been 28 years since Tomb of the Cybermen was found. Anyway, sorry, we must stick with Sontarans. We moved on to Sontarans. And Odd Bandicoot 96 rightly says, I reckon we are due a proper new Sontaran story. Yeah, I'd like that. I always like Sontarans. Yeah. BTS Review says, let's not forget the Sontarans running around the TARDIS pool, referring to probably episode 6, I guess, of the Invasion of Time, or maybe 5. Philip Payne thinks the Sontarans needed more stories than they had. Yeah, you know, I mean, they've had a few, but especially compared to some monsters like the Sea Devils or, you know, even the Autons, I guess, Sontarans have probably had more. But still, yeah, you can never have too many Sontarans, can you? I love a Sontaran, mate. Yeah. And DMF is backing me up, saying the cliffhanger to episode 4 of Invasion of Time ranks as the best ever, in my opinion. In the days before the internet and Doctor Who magazine, nobody saw that coming. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, it blew my face off. Blew me face off. Lee Gannon, hi there, Lee, says Invasion of Time was my first Doctor Who story ever. That must have been, well, I mean, it probably was a bit of a bamboozling story to start with, I would imagine. And you might not have thought the production values were the finest ever, you know, in '77, perhaps not comparable to Star Wars. But, you know, I think, as we all know, perfect production values are not one of the reasons why, certainly not one of the reasons why we love classic Doctor Who. Let's put it like that. Sam Riddell, Sontarans are brilliant at not being phased by the Doctor. They see him as a minor inconvenience up until they realize, oh, wait, that guy's the Doctor. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. They're not really bothered. Sontarans don't go, oh my God, it's the Doctor. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Lots of Sontaran comments. Yeah, lots of people, a couple of people at least, saying they'd like to see a Sontarans versus Rutan story. Yeah, I think we should, you know, while we're talking about Sontarans, let's tip our hat to one of the one-off monsters, one of the best one-off monsters in Doctor Who history, which is the Rutan, who of course we only saw in Horror of Fang Rock, and not many times at that. Yeah. Rutans are great, and obviously Horror of Fang Rock is fantastic. Yes. Retro Resolution says, I love the concept of the TARDIS containing a swimming pool and tons of other wildly incongruous rooms. Yes, indeed. Francine Hibiscus. Hello there, Francine, one of my Patreon patrons. Hello there, welcome. The TARDIS is infinite, budgets sadly not. Well said, Francine, well said. Yes, marvelous. Now, I reckon we should segue into Autons. How do we feel about Autons, and what's our favourite Autons story? That's an interesting one. I've never really thought about what my favourite Auton story might be. Why do we like Autons, and what's your favourite story? Yeah, could be Terror of the Autons. I mean, as I said recently, I think, Terror of the Autons I prefer to Spearhead, partly because it's got so many great set pieces in. You got the doll, the daffodils, the rubber chair thing. Oh God, yeah, terrifying. But then again, Rose. I mean, Rose, the 2005 episode, is a great episode of Doctor Who, but it's not really an Auton story, is it? The Autons are sort of, they're there and they're a big part of it, but they're not really. They're kind of a bit in the background, understandably, because Russell T Davies was trying to launch the show. Yeah, Simon Mallinson, his vote Auton wise goes to Terror the Autons, but that's because of the Master. Joseph Adams says my favorite Auton story is Rose and Spearhead from Space. Nice choices, Joseph. The original being is going for a story that was never actually made but was on the cards at one point. For the 6th Doctor, Yellow Fever and How to Cure It is the original being's vote. Hi there, Tony Cross. You're late, but you've missed the Daleks and the Cybermen, but we've still got plenty of monsters to discuss in the next 20 to maybe 30 minutes. Yeah, don't think we're going to get this done in under 30 minutes, are we? No. I can stretch a little bit, but then I have to head off into the night. BTS Review says can't decide between Spearhead or Terror, but Window Shop Dummies was always scary to me as a kid. Yeah, I mean that is admittedly, I mean that the window, there's no point denying that the Window Shop Dummies is probably the most amazing Auton sequence. I think it's just that Terror the Auton sort of has more stuff going on and it has more sort of variety of terror. But yeah, that scene with the Autons smashing out through department store windows is pretty mad. Motorhawk 2 points out that what made Autons good was that they made everyday things dangerous, like man-eating sofas. Yeah, I remember reading the Target paperback of Terror of the Autons and being horrified by that scene in which sort of a sofa chair thing ate this character called McDermott and sort of smothered him in like rubber. It's like really horrible. Yeah, it's thankfully, because the special effects weren't all that advanced in Terror of the Autons, that on the actual TV show the scene wasn't quite so horrible, but when you're just experiencing it in your mind from the Target novel, absolutely horrible. What a horrible thing. Yeah. Benedict Aquilina points out something about the Autons, and something that, yeah, an interesting connection. Autons appeared in the first episode for the 3rd Doctor and 9th Doctor. Both episodes started new eras for the show. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Well made, Benedict. Thanks for that. Yeah. Comments are moving fast now. Apologies if I miss comments. Anyone who sends me a super chat, when someone sends you a super chat, their comment gets pinned to the top of the live chat. So that's always a bonus if you are ridiculous enough to send me money. John Ingham says of Autons, I think Autons are great because they can blend in a bit more with us, and yeah, and who doesn't have plastic in their house? That's true. Yeah, that's a very good point. And Doctor Who has always done that. And in fact, Terror of the Autons did that a little too well, didn't it? And got in a bit of trouble for that. Lots of childhood nightmares there. Retro Resolution says John Pertwee gurning as a squid monster strangles him is classic Doctor Who. Yes, indeed. You got to love a bit of Pertwee gurning, haven't you? Yeah, lots of praise for the doll in Terror of the Autons. Sam Riddell says, when I watched Rose in 2005, I was young. I went to town to do some shopping with my mum. I was scared by the shop windows. I never let go of my mother's hand. Oh, bless you. Bless you. Lee Gannon points out that the Autons had their own BBV video series. They did, didn't they? I think I might still have some of those videos there. Yeah. Problem Being, hello Problem Being, reckons Autons were scarier in the classic era than in the modern. Let's see. Yeah, that's kind of true. I reckon that's probably true. Yeah. Would an Auton story work with the subject of plastic pollution similar to Praxius from series 12? Well, yeah, it probably would. I mean, and wasn't there, I don't know, maybe it was just, there was probably some speculation around that story. I think maybe people heard that it was going to be about plastic pollution in the ocean and kind of assumed that the Autons were going to be in it, perhaps, or kind of wondered if they were. Ryan Tablet has joined us. Hello there, Ryan. Geigerpunk pipes up on the subject of Pertwee Gurning. We binged Inferno this afternoon. There's some prime Pertwee Gurning as he travels sideways to the alternate dimension. Yes, well, you know, I don't know about you, but whenever I travel sideways to an alternate dimension, I'm certainly prone to a bit of gurning. Yes. Snevron Sykes says, business of usual, a backup comic strip from Doctor Who Weekly has to be my favourite Auton story ever. Alan Moore and David Lloyd wrote that one. Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, I've been going back and looking through Doctor Who Weeklies, and actually I'm thinking of making a video about the first, maybe like the first 5 or 10 Doctor Who Weekly magazines, and just, did I say program? I meant video. Yeah, I'm thinking of making a video about, you know, early Doctor Who Weekly magazines. Well, I suppose videos are programs as well. YouTube is basically a TV station in which anyone can have their own channel. That's pretty cool. Yes, Autons. Right, we've done Autons, we have done Sontarans, we've done Daleks, we've done Cybermen, and now let's talk about Zygons. Yes, how do we feel about Zygons? What's good about Zygons? Why are they so well loved? But first, Tony Cross has activated the super chat function. He has sent me 5 Earth pounds, and in return for that, I'm going to make these lights flash, and I'm going to write his name on the board. Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate that. Now, tell me, folks, why you like Zygons. Obviously, assuming you do. If you think they're overrated and a load of old rubbish, then tell me that and all. Tony Cross. Thank you, Tony. Oh, yeah. You have been consumed by this monster, in case you're wondering what that thing is on the, it's my own monstrous creation. And with his super chat, Tony says to me, my favorite Dalek story is Remembrance of the Daleks. Although I saw Day of the Daleks recently, and that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, there's so many Dalek stories, aren't there? And there's always something to like in a Dalek story, I think, because it's got Daleks in it. I don't know if I can think of a single Dalek story that I hate. Anyway, Zygons as well. Let's talk about Zygons. But thanks for that, Tony. Thanks so much for that donation. I really appreciate that, sir. That will be spent on either mince pies or Doctor Who DVDs. Thank you very much. Yeah. Zygons. Simon Mallinson says, Zygons are just suckers, lol. Nice work, Simon. Nice work. Broken 1394 says Zygons great looking costumes. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the real major appeals of the Zygons is that they're just an absolute design classic in the halls of Doctor Who monsters, aren't they? They're just absolutely fantastic. They just look great. They look great. Look out, Harry Palmer has sent me a super chat now, and I'm afraid I didn't stop the lights flashing. I'm going to stop them flashing and then start them again in your honor, Harry. Thank you very much. Hooray, super chat. So yeah, I think Zygons just look amazing, don't they? You're going on the board, Harry. And another thing I like about Zygons is the fact that they're shapeshifters. I mean, I love a shapeshifter, and I love anything, you know, like The Thing, the horror film The Thing, or I love the whole thing of not knowing who's who and whether aliens are impersonating people, as in you know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers and stuff. Yes, Harry Palmer, of course. There we go. So yeah, I mean, It's kind of odd to me that yeah, it's kind of odd to me that Zygons only appeared once in that first series. Not the first series, you know, before in the original sort of run of Doctor Who. Motorhawk 2 sums up the appeal of Zygons by saying, who does not like a homeless, shape-shifting alien that drinks the milk of the Loch Ness monster? Yeah, yeah. Lots of, you know, it's such a trope, isn't it, that? Such a trope. Sneevron Sykes reckons that the Zygons are the closest Doctor Who ever comes to David Cronenberg-style body horror. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so. Is that the closest? It's hard to say. I mean, I would probably vote for Seeds of Doom, actually, if we can briefly mention Crinoids, because that whole transformation thing in the earlier episodes of Seeds of Doom with the guy stuck in bed turning into a crinoid that's pretty body horror, isn't it? But yeah, you're not wrong about the Zygons being pretty. Geigerpunk, I can't remember whether he has actually dreamt this or not, but he remembers a scene in which a Zygon gets impaled in the gut on a pitchfork farm machinery thing in a barn. I can't remember this. Oh no! Oh, that was Harry in a barn, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right. Was it Zygon Harry? I can't fully remember now. I've got a bit confused. I don't know whether I was just thinking about an episode of the Hammer House of Horror. Yeah. Tony Cross says one of the earliest Doctor Who memories is the cliffhanger when Sarah Jane is on the phone and the nurse transforms into a Zygon. Terrified me. Yeah, they're fantastically designed. Yeah, it's the transformation, isn't it, as well? It's like people suddenly turning into Zygons. Is that sequence you mentioned? I'm trying to remember because it's been a while since I watched this. Was that the one where there was like, yeah, it was the cliffhanger. You said it was the cliffhanger. Yeah, it's a really sudden, like the Zygon suddenly sort of looms into shot. And yeah, that's a pretty frightening cliffhanger there. Philip Payne says the Zygons in Terror of the Zygons are the best ones. Well, I mean, there's no doubt that that's a classic design. And, you know, I like that. I mean, I love the fact the Zygons came back. I loved them in the 50th special, Day of the Doctor. And I think the costume was really good. I like the way they were sort of reinvented a bit as being a bit more vicious with like really razor sharp teeth. Yeah. Let's see. Were there any novels featuring the Zygons? Asks the original being. Let's put that question out to the floor. Can anyone remember this? Yeah, the original being says the original Zygons are more creepy because of the variations in the faces. Still gives me the creeps. Interesting. Yes. Ryan Tablet says, if you were a Zygon, whose shape would you take for a day? Wow, whose shape? Who would I pretend to be? I don't know. I suppose I can't. I'm hard pressed to think of the advantage of like pretending to be anyone else. It's a good question though, Ryan. Well, whose shape would you take for a day? Lots of comments on Zygons. Thank you, folks. I'm loving it. Having trouble keeping up, but loving it. Oh, Doctor Who fan answers hi there, Doctor Who fan. He answers the question that I think the original being asked. There was a 10th Doctor and Martha novel called Sting of the Zygons. That's right. That's a good title, isn't it? Sting of the Zygons. Yeah. Yeah, we haven't really had a sting, have we? Actually, that just reminded me of when I told Russell T Davies that I'd written this 10th Doctor audio story called The Gemini Contagion, and he said, "Oh, we've never had a contagion before." Yeah, it's just as well I didn't try and do the Welsh accent there, really. Retro Resolution says, have to mention the gel guards, as you've mentioned how much you love them, Jason. Oh, I love the gel guards, yeah. See, there's a one-off monster who, I mean, obviously they didn't have much scope, did they? Admittedly, as much as I love the gel guards, you could never see them. I don't know if you could see them sort of being the front runners of their own story, could you? That's the tricky thing. Yeah. Geigerpunk says, actually, I'm not going to read what Geigerpunk says. Something about Scarlett Johansson. You can see it there in live chat. My earliest memories of Who are Davos with cobwebs all over him. Yes. Absolutely marvelous Zygon comments. Now, let's jump forward into the new Who era and talk about the Weeping Angels for a bit. How do we feel about the Weeping Angels, and what's your favourite Weeping Angel story? I suspect there's going to be a lot of votes here for Blink. I think my favourite Weeping Angel story might be the Time of Angels, and what's the second one? Second part of that two-parter called Flesh and Stone. I like that. I like the way that the angels had become a bit sadistic and they were breaking people's necks. You know, that was really pushing the boundaries of nastiness in Doctor Who, I think. Brilliant. Francine Hibiscus rightly says that those Weeping Angels are scary. Yeah. Yes, they are. Problem being reckons Blink was the best Weeping Angel story. The rest seemed to me to be attempts to make it like the Aliens movie. Yeah, I know what you mean. There was a bit of an Aliens feeling, wasn't there, in that second party? Yeah. Sneevron Sykes, his vote goes for Blink when it comes to the Weeping Angels. Yeah, I mean they're really inspired, and they're a really good example of a post-millennial Who monster who really deserved to take their place, I think, among the sort of classic pantheon of Who monsters, don't we think? Yeah. BTS Reviews thinks that the Weeping Angels were a great idea, massively overused. Massively, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there were three. Although, have I forgotten one? Three kind of Weeping Angel stories, essentially, right? So that feels quite good, like a trilogy. Angels trilogy. The original being his favourite or her favourite Weeping Angel story is Time of the Angels / Flesh and Stone, largely because the Doctor was heavily involved in the story and it reminded me of The Descent. Yeah. In case anyone's wondering what The Descent is, it's a really good British horror film directed by Neil Marshall. Very nasty. Geigerpunk says they had to overuse the angels, though. It was that or bring out the Slovene again. Well, the Slovene, there's something I haven't turned the lights off since that last super chat from Harry. Right, the lights are now blue and they will only flash again for your excitement when or if anyone sends me another super chat. Or pledges to me on Patreon. Anyone who pledges to me on Patreon during this stream gets their name written on that board along with the super chatters. Weeping Angels, says GL Wilson, turned up in the final cliffhanger of Class. Probably the best part of the whole spin-off. Oh, right, yes, indeed. Geigerpunk, he seconds my opinion that The Descent is properly nasty. It is properly nasty, and it's kind of all about potholing as well. Thing about The Descent, obviously we're moving away from Doctor Who for 1 second, but with The Descent, I was terrified enough before other things started happening. The potholing was terrifying enough for me, basically. Geigerpunk does not like the statue of Liberty Angel. That was a really bad idea. Oh dear. What old doc? This is a good one from John Ingham. I might throw this to the floor. Which old doc would you like to see go up against the Weeping Angels? John would personally like to see the Sixth Doctor going up against the Weeping Angels. I think I would like to see, for some reason, I think I'd like to see the Fifth Doctor get the absolute Christ scared out of him by the Weeping Angels. Yeah, I'd like to see the Fifth Doctor terrified. Yes. Oh yeah, Geiger, yeah, the first death, yeah. Lots of people saying Pertwee up against the Weeping Angels. That would be pretty cool, actually, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff Dunn says the end of The Angels Take Manhattan was so sad with Amy and Rory. Yeah, it really was. Yeah, that was quite weirdly sort of horrific, that. So sudden. Right, we're moving on. Well, actually, the last word goes to, Ryan Tablet, who says the Second Doctor would cry at the Weeping Angels. Oh, my giddy aunt, I daren't blink. Problem being, says Pertwee would sort those angel suckers out in no time. Yeah, the original being says maybe Capaldi. Hartnell would flatten them, reckons Francine Hibiscus. Blimey, that's tough talk there. Yeah. Tony likes Time of Angels / Flesh and Stone. Simon Mallinson says, was there not a Big Finish story with Davison and the Angels? I don't know. Was there? Yeah. Wow. So somebody did that. Cool. We're moving on now to Ice Warriors. Ice Warriors. How do we feel about the Ice Warriors? And what's our favorite Ice Warriors story? See, part of the appeal of this for me is that these are making me ask questions like that of myself. What is my favorite Ice Warriors story? Would it be the Seeds of Death? Oh, no, actually, well, I think it would have to be, for me, Curse of Peladon. I love Curse of Peladon. Is that really an Ice Warriors story? Well, it kind of is, yeah. It's got enough Ice Warriors in it, I think, to be an Ice Warriors story. Yeah. So what is the appeal of the Ice Warriors as well? That's an interesting one, isn't it? I suppose they sort of have their own, thing, don't they? They're very kind of icy, and obviously it's funny that, isn't it? You see, that's what people come to these live streams for, to get this kind of insight from me. These Ice Warriors, yes, in my opinion, they're very, very icy, aren't they? And on another level, they're very, very warrior-like. Yes, yes. The Ice Warriors weren't very good, says Problem Being. What an absolute outrage. Philip Payne says my favorite Ice Warrior story will be Seeds of Death, with the Ice Warriors, as in the story of the Ice Warriors, I think, just missing out. Oh, Problem Being, I've just realized you were saying the Ice Warriors, as in their debut story, wasn't very good. I see what you're saying. You're not slagging off the Ice Warriors in general, I believe. Richard Brown says the original Ice Warriors story is my favorite. The Capaldi one was quite good, says Ryan Tablet. John Ingham goes for Seeds of Death. So we're seeing some split opinions there on the best Ice Warriors stories. Cold War is underrated, says Benedict. The Ice Warriors is just too long, reckons Doctor Who fan. If it were 5 parts, it would be better. Yeah, it's true, really. A lot of 6-part stories in Doctor Who would be improved if they were like, if they were just compressed a bit. Yeah. Sneevron Sykes says, I'm still waiting for a classic Ice Warrior story. Wow. DMF says, wow, my first memory of Doctor Who is Victoria being chased through the ice tunnel by an Ice Warrior. My second favourite monster, but my favourite story would be Curse of Peladon. Yeah, Curse of Peladon is a beautiful piece of work. Yes, I'm glad I got you right there, Problem Being. Yeah, you were just, you were talking about their debut story, not the Ice Warriors themselves. G.L. Wilson is attempting to help to explain the appeal of the Ice Warriors. He says, I like the combination of robotic and reptilian. Yeah. It's true, isn't it? They are very reptilian, but there's a sort of, there's, there's obviously a sci-fi thing going on there as well. The original being says, I find Curse of Peladon overrated. You send me to the chopping block now. Yes, off you go. It's over there waiting for you. Put your head down, mate. Terrible business. I still haven't watched the Ice Warriors, says Retro Resolution. It's on my backlog. But isn't that nice? isn't that lovely when you've got like a pocket of classic Doctor Who to watch still that you haven't seen or that you haven't seen for ages, and you know it's there waiting for you? It's lovely, isn't it? Broken 1394 goes for Peladon as well, presumably cursed, not monster. I notice no one is mentioning Monster Peladon as their favourite, although I mean to watch Monster Peladon. Maybe I might watch Monster Peladon this Christmas. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of a quick sidestep here, because otherwise I might forget. Retro Resolution says, I have a fondness for Pteroleptals, as the Visitation is the story that I most associate with Doctor Who, despite having seen at least the last 2 seasons of Tom's Doctor when they were first shown. Yeah, Pteroleptals are great. Yeah, I mean, they have intelligence and they look great. I like the multicolored nature of those Pteroleptals. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, GL Wilson seconds Retro's enthusiasm for Pteroleptals. Yes, I'd love to see the Pteroleptals return. Richard Brown back on a Peladon footing says, love both Peladon stories. GL Wilson says, I loved the Ice Warrior reveal in Monster Peladon. Yeah, that is a nice aspect of Monster, you know, the fact that the sort of the dynamics have changed there. I like Ice Warriors. What made them good was they evolved from an all-out baddie to a race that was united with other races. That's true. Yeah, Ice Warriors, they're not just sort of evil sort of killing machines, are they? They're a bit more, they're a little bit like Draconians in a way, I suppose, because, you know, Draconians can go one way or the other. It sort of depends what side of them you get on. Draconians. There's another classic Doctor Who monster that didn't appear in many stories. Yeah, worth mentioning them for sure. For sure. Sneevron Sykes is not a fan of the Peladon stories. He says, I often take a couple of Peladon if I'm having trouble getting off to sleep at night. Lovely. Right, moving on then. Let's move on to the Sea Devils. Dun, dun, da, da, da. Sea Devils. Look at the quality of that, eh? And there they are again on the cover of the monster book there, the 2nd edition, yeah. Obviously there, obviously. Marvellous. How do we feel about them? I love a Sea Devil. You know, you can talk about all the string vests you like, but I like them. Yeah. Richard Brown says, don't forget Ogrons. Yeah, they are actually on the list. I like Ogrons. Yeah. They're pretty scary, Ogrons. Yeah. There's a bit in, I think, Frontier in Space where one of them barrels into a room and it's like, oh my God, if one of them 7-foot monstrosities walked in with a gun, you wouldn't like that. Problem being has, he reckons Sea Devils are great monsters with woeful stories, underserved. Anyone agree with that? That's an interesting view. Thank you, Problem being. Doctor Who fan says the Sea Devils were good in their first story, but not the latter. You see, this is the Warriors of the Deep, the 5th Doctor story, Warriors of the Deep, is another great example of me being 12 when it comes to Doctor Who, because I'm really easily pleased. I mean, obviously, I can see all the problems, but I'm like, Sea Devils and Silurians in one story? Yes, I love it. Custard Time Lord, hello, Custard. One of my Patreons, lovely man. What a lovely man. My favourite Sea Devil story is, well, the Sea Devils. Yes. Fair enough. It's a shame there was never a story called the Cybermen, was there? Although I suppose there was in terms of the target novel. GL Wilson says, Sea Devils, first story was a classic. Fantastic. Wish they'd come back for more. His favourite Sea Devil story is Tidal Wave, a beautiful sequel to Sea Devils with Joe and Osgood. Highly recommend. Cool. Sneevron Sykes, on the other hand, reckons the Sea Devils, the original story, is a stone cold classic. Richard Brown, hooray! Richard Brown says the Sea Devils are my favourite Who monster. I think it's the eyes or vest, right? Eyes and vest. Fair enough. Yeah, they're great. Let's just have a look at the eyes and the vest again. Look at those eyes, and also look at that vest. Yes. Look at the quality of that. Look at the quality of that. If you're only just joining us, this stream was supposed to last 1 hour, but we haven't quite got through enough monsters yet for me to wrap this up. So we have to go on for a little bit longer. We're talking about the classics, really. We've done Cybermen, Daleks, Sontarans. We're now on Sea Devils. So join us, and anyone who sends a super chat during this stream gets their name written on that board. Yes, inside that monster, that incredibly well drawn monster. Doctor Who fan says the Sea Devils presented a neat debate about who rightfully owned the planet, with a great atmospheric first 2 episodes, while their latter appearances reduced them to the Silurians' foot soldiers. Yeah, I can see that argument. Yeah, that's true. I really like their not Silurian, their samurai look, though. I like the samurai Sea Devils. DMF says Sea Devils are long overdue a return. Let's blend slightly. We'll carry on talking about Sea Devils for a bit, but we'll also talk about Silurians, because they're kind of like, you know, I know they're not the same thing, but they're kind of two sides of the same Doctor Who coin, aren't they? Retro Resolution declares the Sea Devils a genuine classic. Retro, he also adds nice shawls. Oh, are they shawls? Maybe they're shawls, not vests. I think we're pretty agreed that the Sea Devils need to come back, aren't we? I'd say they'd probably be really high on people's lists. I wonder if Sea Devils would be the top monster, top classic Doctor Who monster that haven't come back yet in New Who, that we'd like to see come back. Yeah, could be, couldn't it? Sneeve Ron Sykes says the first time I ever saw a compact disc was in the claw of a Sea Devil. And just to illustrate what Sneeve Ron is saying there's a Sea Devil holding a CD. Sea Devil CD. They even sound a bit similar. Yeah, obviously intentional. Problem Being says love the original Silurians, absolutely hated the modern ones. Okay, strong opinion, strong. Yeah. I mean, Silurians and Sea Devils are similar in that way, aren't they? Sort of, you know, the as was pointed out just now, you know, the whole thing of humanity's claim to the world versus other species' claim to the world. Oh, Geigerpunk is floating the idea of a Sea Devils Auton crossover with plastics polluting the oceans. Cool, I really like that. Yeah, nice work. I'm going to make the lights flash for a moment in the honor of that idea. Yes, Sea Devils versus Autons. Very nice. Very nice. Brilliant. Right, now I reckon I know we've kind of brushed over the Silurians there a little bit, but we'll move on in a minute. Warriors of the Deep is actually quite good. I like Warriors of the Deep, Richard. Yeah, I think it's great fun. The Doc too points out that there used to be people out in the streets with vests like that, like people like Rab C. Nesbitt or something like that. Yeah. Yes. Right, we're moving on, I think. We're almost, I think we could, well, I mean, obviously there's more classics to talk about, but in a bit we're going to talk about some of your favorite one-offs and lesser known monsters, and we'll talk about mine as well. I've got 3 written down there to tell you about. Let's talk about Yeti. What is it with the Yeti? Why do we like the Yeti so much? Yeti. While you're having a think about that and typing away, let me I don't know, I suppose Yeti are kind of like the very definition of monsters, aren't they? They're kind of they're sort of, you know, they're so monstery. Yeah, see, another bit of incredibly sage insight from me there. Yeah, but they're sort of furry and kind of aren't they? A bit like me in the thumbnail for this video. That was fun to do this afternoon. Should have seen some of the outtakes from that little session. Geigerpunk likes the Yetis for cuddles. They do look a bit cuddly though, don't they? I mean, you know, they'd probably kill you if you try to cuddle them. In fact, they'd definitely kill you. But yeah, I suppose again, maybe a bit like the Ice Warriors in a sense. The Yetis are robots, aren't they? But they kind of look all fluffy. Maybe it's that it's that juxtaposition. Maybe some of the appeal of some Doctor Who classic monsters is the sort of the juxtaposition. Yeah, that sounds a bit more fancy, doesn't it? There's a conversation going on here about sherbet fountains, and I'm not entirely sure where that's come from, but I applaud it. Web of Fear says, problem being is one of my favorite second Doctor stories. Thank God it got restored. Yes, yes, yes. And it looks like Web of Fear is coming out next year with episode 3 animated. That'll be interesting. I can't believe it's been about 6 years, I think, since the original Web of Fear release. That's just really bizarre. Custard Time Lord says of the Yetis, this is a really good point. I think because the Yetis have only been seen twice, they're like a relic. If they'd been brought back and overused, it would have ruined them. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. This is probably true, yeah, of a few sort of monsters who only had like 1 story or 2 stories. DMF says the Yeti were terrifying and huge. The cliffhanger in the Web of Fear when they come bursting into the HQ with that roar is a vivid childhood memory. Would love to see them come back. Yes, yes, indeed. Geigerpunk says, I have a picture of one of my cats, Mouse Cow. Mouse Cow, by the way, has a Twitter account of her own. So go and follow Mouse Cow on Twitter. And while you're at it, follow Geigerpunk and follow the link to his channel, his retro channel, and subscribe to it because it's great. Oh, speaking of robots, says Retro Resolution, taking a jaunty step aside for a moment. I love the design of the titular robots of death. That's another use of titular tonight. Well done. I'm going to make the lights flash a bit for the use, just for the use of the word titular, but also to celebrate the robots of death because I love them too. I watched Robots of Death about a week ago and loved it, and might well make a video just about Robots of Death just because. Yeah. Doctor Who fan says the Yeti were perfect for the black and white era. That's a really good point. Yeah, you people are brilliant. You know, you make just such great points. I love it. I really enjoyed chatting to you all, and that's why I'm doing these live streams because I've been doing them every Monday now for 3 weeks because they're fun. Yes, Retro Resolution has just posted in live chat the Twitter handle of Mouse Cow, Geigerpunk's remarkable cat. I don't think I actually read the the message that Geiger posted about Mouse Cow there. I went off on a tangent. He said originally, I have a picture of one of my cats, Mouse Cow, standing on her hind legs, and she looks like the most adorable Yeti ever. Yes. I might have read that. I can't remember now. These live streams are all a blur. A lovely old blur. Robots of Death. Lots of love for Robots of Death. Yeah, those robots are classic monsters. I mean, talk about, one of the best one-off monsters, actually. Those robots are awesome. Retro Resolution says this feels like the best gathering at a pub ever. Yeah, that's what I want these to be. Yeah, gathering at a pub, having a chat. It's kind of why I want all my videos to feel like, I suppose. I suppose my regular videos are like some bloke chatting at you at a pub, across a pub table. You do get to talk back in comments. And by the way, when we finish this, we can overflow into comments down there beneath this video. I'd love to carry on the conversation there, because we're bound to have missed monsters out, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on them, and I'd like to hear all the thoughts that that we still have at the end of this chat. The Web of Fear is fantastic, says the Doc 2. I like it when the Doctor controls the TARDIS with a giant joystick-style switch. Yes. Retro Resolution describes Robots of Death as blokes in masks done right. DMF says, I showed Robots of Death to my kids a few years back, and when they revealed the robot with blood dripping off its hand, they ran out of the room. I thought, wow, this show never gets old. That moment is pretty mad, though, in Robots of Death. I mean, it's not just blood on the robot's hand. It looks like sort of bloodied strips of flesh. They kind of overdid that a bit for that time, didn't they? It's a bit, it's like gore, basically. Ryan Tablet says, I watched The Five Doctors the other day. Does the warrior robot count as a monster? Yes. Yes, it definitely does. And that is an awesome one-off. That scene is one of the most legendary sequences in Doctor Who history. It's probably the most violent thing in Doctor Who ever. Right, so we're now going to have a free-for-all. We're going to have about 11 minutes of free-for-all before I wrap up and tell you why my own thoughts on why we love monsters in Doctor Who in general. So I want to hear about your favorite underserved or underused or one-off monsters. Hit me with it in chat right here. This is your last chance also to end up on the board of evil inside this monster by sending me a super chat or pledging to me on patreon.com. Let's see. Problem Being says, let's give a moment's silence for the creature from the pit. Sexiest Doctor Who monster ever. Yes, thank you for that. Geigerpunk says, how about the Vervoids? What are the odds of them ever coming back? Pretty low, I suspect, not without a complete redesign to allow pre-watershed transmission. I don't know why we're suddenly preoccupied with slightly phallic or sexual monsters. The cheetah people from Survival, says Ben Baxter. Quarks, says Simon Mallinson. Yeah, I love the quarks. I like the colours of the quarks. They look like they're full of hundreds and thousands, don't they? Ryan Tablet says, what about Kroll? That was a huge monster. Yeah, I reckon I reckon Kroll is really good. Kroll looks great. It's a really good looking monster. It looks kind of fleshy and kind of wet, doesn't it? Like it really has come up from the water. Jeff Dunn likes Agador in Curse of Peladon. I love the way John tries to hypnotize and he ends up crossing his eyes. Always makes me laugh. Absolutely. Sneefer on Sykes, the Hand of Fear. Yeah, the hand itself. And Eldrad. I like both Eldrads as well. Yeah, I was scared witless by the Hand of Fear. The Doctor Who says the monoids. This is from the Ark. The monoids need glasses. Bring back the monoids. The original being puts his vote up for the Crotons. Yeah, I've got a bit of a soft spot for the Crotons after seeing them in what somebody reminded me last time. I think was the Five Faces of Doctor Who, right? That BBC 1 or 2, BBC 2 was it? Repeat season. Yeah. Wow, lots of votes coming in for really cool and sort of not very often used monsters. Sort of like the lower tiers, but that doesn't mean that they're any less loved by a lot of people. The Wirren, although the design, says Custard Time Lord, is slightly clunky, I absolutely love it, and the concept of them infesting humans. Ark in Space is also a great story. Sensorites, says Richard Brown. Yeah, I like the Sensorites. They're a classic, aren't they? I think have I got Sensorites in this? Let me show you some Sensorites in this monster book. Sensorites 42. Yes. Oh, axons. Hold on. Let's have a moment for the axons. I know I've been talking about them. I was going on about them last week, wasn't I, in the stream? By the way, you can, in the video description, you can find a link to my past live streams and also my Doctor Who playlist, which now has about 40 odd Doctor Who videos in it. Yeah, the axons are incredible. Obviously, the axons might be one of my, well, they're in my top 10 sort of one-off monsters in Who, for sure, probably top 5 actually. There's those Sensorites with a random mechanoid next to them. Yeah, that's a great design. I think that's really good. Really good. The Rani, says Ben Baxter. Yeah, I suppose the Rani counts as a monster. I suppose possibly more of a villain. I don't know. Problem Being says Sutek. Yeah, Sutek. I mean, Sutek is amazing. Yeah. On the subject of the Crotons, DMF says, I wasn't scared by the Crotons, but I was by their sound effects. I can't remember that, you know. I think I might revisit the Crotons over Christmas. I think there's something a bit Christmassy about the Crotons. Yeah, Crotons are Christmas. Possibly with some soup with croutons in it. The giant spiders from Metabilis 3, says the original being. Yeah, I yearn for them. I ache for them. Axons were gold, literally gold. Yeah, problem being giant maggots, says Retro Resolution. Yeah, come on, let's hear it for the giant maggots from the Green Death. Absolutely. You know, I have a feeling that we could do another live stream sometime about monsters and just have a free-for-all chat about monsters. I think we will do that because I'm definitely liking these live streams and I'd like to do more of them. I pretty much definitely won't be able to do one next Monday, but keep an eye on my Twitter, and also if you're in my Patreon club, I'll be letting people know up front when live streams are coming. But also, you know, you don't have to make a pledge to me to get that kind of information. It'll also be on Twitter, and keep an eye on the community tab in YouTube as well. Oh, Sneevon Sykes, yeah, you're speaking my language. For real horror, the Master's rotting face in The Deadly Assassin still troubles me now. Yeah, it does, yeah. It's horrible, isn't it? It looks like his face is literally rotting. It looks like rotting meat. It's absolutely mad. Motorhawk 2, Mind Robber, lovely. Yeah, that's a good story, isn't it? Good second Doctor story. John Ingham nominates Adric as best monster. Sorry, had to do it, he says. I don't think you had to do that, John. Some of us used to love Adric. Oh. Problem Being says, definitely needs some horrendously scary CGI Drashigs. I mean, Drashigs, I think they look really kind of realistic. I think we mentioned them last week, didn't we? And someone pointed out that possibly real teeth were used for the Drashigs. Yeah, that would explain a lot. Oh, Morbius. Oh my God, there's so many monsters to talk about. This is crazy. Morbius from TV's The Brain of Morbius. Chris Brown nominates Morbius, and he says, I would love to see him properly in action with his proper body. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Morbius origin story. That would be nice, wouldn't it, on TV? DMF says, yeah, let's hear some more love for the Crinoids. DMF says, can't believe the Crinoids were a one-off. The Crinoids were, of course, in the Seeds of Doom, the Fourth Doctor story. And yeah, they're great. I bet I've got some Crinoids to show you in this monster book. I'll wager. Oh, I tell you what, I do have some on this board that I probably should have shown you earlier to remind you of some Doctor Who monsters. Let me show you this. Look at the magic of that. And you've got the Crinoids there. You've got both the humanoid version of the Crinoids and the large kind of bulkier version as well. Got some lovely monsters in this. Let me just show you this properly because that deserves. Look at that, eh? Look at that. You've got the you got Hieronymus. Omega is a great monster that's worth a lot of celebration, I think, and also the Gel Guard, obviously. Omega's servants, tremendous. Any love for the God, I can't remember what they're called. That probably says quite a lot, doesn't it? I can't remember what they're called. I know they're from the Android Invasion, but I like them. Yeah. Wirren there, obviously we've had some love for the Wirren tonight. This is quite a random character, isn't it? In the Weetabix cards, because these are from the 70s. These Weetabix cards, you got these free in boxes of Weetabix, and I'm sure I'll do a video about this at some point because, yeah, God, I love these things. This artwork is just beautiful. The Kralls, thank you. I've got several people. Thank you, Philip DMF and Original Being, for reminding me these are Kralls. Yes, yeah, these are Kralls. Yes. That's marvelous, isn't it? How's that for an inspirational board, just to make sure we're not missing any greats? The Borad from Time Lash looks awesome, says Custard Time Lord, somewhat implausibly. Well, that's true, actually. Yeah, I think the Borad does look good. And Custard Time Lord does point out that Time Lash itself isn't so awesome. Now, I've got a few to nominate here, a couple to nominate that haven't been mentioned. I love me a Nimon. I did say in the video description of this that I was bound to mention the Nimon at some point. I love the Nimon. They're so cool. They're just really, I think they're a great design. I mean, obviously they're kind of like like a minotaur, aren't they, really? But when I was a kid, I loved like the yellow horns, the bright neon yellow horns, the red eyes, the the black skin, just fantastic. And they're just like jet black, aren't they? They're just so cool, and I think they're pretty scary. I find Nimon voices pretty scary. Any other Nimon fans out there? I'd like to connect. I'm feeling quite lonely as a Nimon fan. I'd like to connect with fellow Nimon lovers. The original being. How about the Vardens from Invasion of Time? Well, yeah, the Vardens are probably better in sort of theory than anything else, aren't they? Sort of. I mean, I think, funnily enough, I think their tin foil variants are better and more impressive than the human ones. Yeah. Francine Hibiscus remembers the Nimon, although I'm not sure in which way she remembers them, because she's simply saying, oh gosh, the Nimon. Nimon was great, says Problem Being. Yes, thank you. Custard Time Lord has nominated one of the other ones on my list, the Fendal. Love the Fendal. They're so cool. I mean, and the Fendal, I mean, Jesus. They're a Gestalt entity that's basically death itself. And they just sort of, they can appear as like these great big horrible serpents, or sort of take over people in some bizarre way and make their eyes go all weird. Fendal are mad. Absolutely mad. Love it. Love image of the Fendal. Custard Time Lord says Horns of Nimon is underrated. Yes, it is. I think it is. I like it. I like it a lot. The look of the Nimon is excellent, agrees the original being. Thank you. And Francine Hibiscus has clarified that she is speaking of the Nimon fondly, of course. Yes. Hooray. Me and my friend John Higgs, we revisited Horns of Nimon. God knows when. I mean, as I've said before, it's timey-wimey at the moment. This year has felt like 3. Maybe it was last year, I think we watched the Horns of Nimon, and it was great. Oh, yeah, DMF, good point. Love to see Magnus Greel and Mr. Sin make a return too. Oh, my God, Mr. Sin. Wow. Mr. Sin is definitely one of the scariest monsters in Doctor Who history. Absolutely. Fendal creeped me out, says Simon Mallinson. Kai, hello Kai Sandbrook. If you could turn any horror concept or villain into a Doctor Who monster and write the episode yourself, or any horror concept or villain into a Doctor Who monster, I don't know. I suppose if I got to write a Doctor Who story, Kai, I'd want to make something up brand new. Yeah, so I don't know. I can't really answer that one. What about you? Have you got anything in mind when you ask that question yourself, Kai? What would you like to do if you're in that situation? Jeff Dunn says, I do not like the Nimons. I'll get my coat. What an outrage, Jeff. Outrage. It's lucky we're almost done with the stream. Otherwise, I'd have to have you escorted off the premises. Yes. Gosh, I forgot about the Fendal, says Odd Planet 2180. Hello, Odd Planet 2180. Welcome. We're almost done, but if you've, I guess some people, just because some people only comment towards the end of a stream, it doesn't mean they haven't been watching the whole thing or listening to the whole thing. Often with live streams, I kind of end up using them as like a radio, the radio. I really like listening to them, unless someone's playing a game or something that you want to actually see. Oh, Geigerpunk says, how have we only just got to Scaroth of the Jaggeroth? Yes, Scaroth of the Jaggeroth is really good. I haven't seen City of Death, the 4th Doctor serial featuring Scaroth of the Jaggeroth, for quite some time. And yeah, that's another one. I've got a lot of Doctor Who to watch over Christmas. Yeah, I'll probably watch some Doctor Who when I visit my lovely mum. Hello, my lovely mum. My mum is watching this. Meglos. I don't know. I feel we might be scraping the bottom of the barrel here when we got to Meglos. Although Meglos had a lot of, Meglos had some really good elements, didn't it? Yeah, I mean, that sort of businessman with a spiny face that was a really good image, actually. There's definitely, I think Meglos probably shouldn't be dismissed offhand. Geigerpunk is repeating one of the finest lines from City of Death. Is he your butler? He's so wonderfully violent. Yes. Oh, Bok from the Daemons, says Retro Resolution. Yeah. more cute than terrifying. Yeah, I suppose so. He's kind of cute, the old chap with the wings, but he's also pretty, you know, all the things to do with the daemons are pretty scary, aren't they? I mean, it's basically different variations of Satan. Sharaz Jek, how did we forget, says Custard Time Lord. I'm not a huge fan of Sharaz Jek. I think because it's kind of like the Phantom of the Opera. And I always found the Phantom of the Opera a bit boring. So Caves of Androzani, I really appreciate sort of the innovation of it, the fact it was very different and gritty. But yeah, it's funny. Caves has never been one of my faves. Oh, Richard Brown tips his hat to the mutants from the Third Doctor's era. The original being points out the Marshmen from Full Circle have a good design. They did have a good design, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Kai Sandbrook says if it had to be a horror concept, it would be a version of Final Destination. Yeah, yeah. Similar to the Reapers from Father's Day, but the villain is a manifestation of an event. Interesting, Kai. Interesting stuff. Wow, I never thought we'd have a nomination, as Odd Planet 2180 has just given us, of the Shrivenzale from the Reboss Operation from the Key to Time series. Yeah, the Reboss Operation is a weird one. It's well scripted. Oh, the Black Guardian, says Custard Time Lord. Nice, nice. The only one I've got here I've got two that we haven't mentioned yet. Although I did mention one earlier, and one of them, there's two. So there's the Ogre from the Stones of Blood. Those things are absolutely petrifying. When I was a kid and I saw one of those basically Stonehenge stones like slide along past someone's living room window and then smash through the window into their home, I was just so scared that something was going to happen like that, like a great big stone monolith was going to come crashing through our living room window. Yeah, and they suck people's blood. I mean, that scene with the hitchhikers, these great big stones that sort of roll around the place, sucking people's blood. And the other one is probably one that a lot of other people will probably share with me, the nucleus of the swarm. The nucleus of the swarm from the Invisible Enemy. I don't care how many times you mention Prawns. I love him, love the voice, love John Leeson's. The fact that John Leeson, unless I'm very much mistaken, did both the voice for K9 and the nucleus of the swarm in the Invisible Enemy is really testament to his vocal versatility. The Movellans, says Jeff Dunn. Yeah, the Movellans were pretty cool. Very 80s, weren't they? Very 80s. Geiger Punk says, could the Mara come back? Oh, yeah, the Mara's good. Yeah, forgot how those stories ended now. Thing is, it doesn't really matter how they ended, does it? Because if someone wants to bring a monster back, they can just come up with like a parallel universe or something. Contact has been made, says Simon Mallinson. Yes, Simon. Yeah, fellow Invisible Enemy fan, hopefully. Although Simon did end his comment with lol, so I'm not sure. Sneevon Sykes says, we haven't even mentioned the giant Metabilis spiders that jumped on people's backs. Yeah, a great big spider jumping on your back. You wouldn't want that, would you? Bloody hell. Yeah. Wow. DMF loves the Invisible Enemy. Thank you. Thank you. Worth it just for those eyebrows. Yeah. The first episode alone is just a masterclass in building suspense, I think. So I originally intended this live stream to last for an hour. It's now an hour and 40 minutes, and I reckon we could carry on for ages. Although the original being has just mentioned the magma creature from Androzani. So perhaps it's best to wind this up. I'm only kidding, original. Yeah. Wow. So many things coming in. Well, let me tell you why I reckon we love Doctor Who monsters and monsters in general, really. I was thinking about this earlier while planning this live stream, and I reckon that Doctor Who monsters, and we've kind of touched on this throughout this live stream, Doctor Who monsters each represent fears and dangers in the world, things that we're scared of. You know, the Daleks represent prejudice and hatred, don't they? And the Cybermen are conformity, you know, the fear of conformity and ending up like everyone else. And also the fear of tech, going wrong and consuming us all. The Sontarans represent the warlike element of humanity itself. And so if each monster represents a fear or a danger that we're troubled by, then and that's why to me Doctor Who is a horror show, because horror does the same thing. All these monsters and all these scary Doctor Who serials allow us to vicariously face these fears, whatever they happen to be, and we come out the other side, much like the other side of a ghost train or a roller coaster, and we feel like we're slightly, possibly less scared of the thing, or at least we feel like we've had a good time, and we've kind of been frightened, but we've had a safe experience. And that's why I reckon we like monsters. Now, going back to the lots of comments coming in, lots of comments. Oh, look out, the Merker. Yeah, as Geigerpunk says, best wind this up before anyone mentions the Merker. Oh, that's torn it. Yes, yeah, someone had to do it. It's like Whamageddon, isn't it? Merkergeddon. So I reckon I'd like to see you all. I'd like to cordially invite you all to come down into comments, and I might not be able to reply straight away, but I'm going to post some questions down there, and the comments is where, I think the live chat will remain on this live stream, but in comments, your comments are a bit more kind of visible, I think, and a bit more prominent and immortalized. Whereas I don't know how many people actually watch live chats when they watch a live stream. Yeah, interesting. So let's go down in comments and carry on talking about this. And you guys are brilliant. I've so enjoyed this. You're so full of great points and ideas and memories of monsters that I'd forgotten about. I think we need to talk about monsters a bit more. I think we've got some more monster talk in us. Maybe we'll come back to monsters in January and talk again. Problem being says Special Weapons Dalek needs to come back. Absolutely. And I will come back, not next Monday, but hopefully another day next week for a live stream. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to make the lights flash to say good night to you. I pointed the remote control the wrong way. Thank you so much for joining this live stream. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks to these lovely people who sent me super chats. Broken 1394, Tony Cross, and Harry Palmer. Your seats in the afterlife are hereby assured. Although, obviously, I hope you don't get there very soon. Thank you very much. Love you all. Love you, and monstrous thoughts to you all. Good day, and don't forget, as I always say at the end of my videos, to embrace your obsession. He says, clicking the end stream button, and then you have to confirm you want to end the stream. Bye, guys. Thank you very much. See you soon. See you in comments.